DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. We're joined now by Brian Taylor, Real Golf Radio co-host, ready to talk PGA Championship. Brian, good morning.
Morning, guys. How are we?
Good. The PGA Championship is rolling into Valhalla. Is this one of the better PGA courses? Is it kind of the middle? What is? How does this course stack up? Legendary tracks.
Well, I mean, Tiger made it legendary, I think, with his 2000 win over Bob May. That's what first comes to mind. Obviously, 2008, the Ryder Cup, Paul Azinger with the pod system finally got the U.S. a dub, much-needed win in that series when the Europeans were dominating. So there's been some good ones. I mean, go back to 1996 PGA. Kenny Perry, a local favorite there, local Kentuckian. He's in the booth. Looks like he's going to win. Mark Brooks comes down the stretch. And while Kenny's in the broadcast booth watching and commentating, Mark catches him. Then they run right down to a playoff where Kenny probably should have been out hitting some balls and warming up and ends up losing on the first sudden death playoff hole. So Kenny's been a good friend of the show over the years, and I know that one's a tough one to swallow. So those are some of the things that come to mind. And then Rory McIlroy beating Phil Mickelson by a shot back in 2014. So there's been some good ones here. To me, and we've been out on this golf course, it's got some interesting holes. It's not, in my mind, of the places we've gone over the last 25 years, one of the most memorable as far as golf courses is concerned, but it's a big boy park, if you will, and I expect big hitter this week.
At majors, should par fives be reachable with a driver and a lob wedge?
I mean, ideally not, right? I mean, ideally not. They're supposed to test these guys, and but you know what? I think there's some reasons why they're starting to roll the ball back. We were at Pinehurst for the U.S. Open a couple weeks ago, and I'm just little old me. I'm 50 years old. I don't hit it anywhere, and I hit driver 6-iron into a par 5. So what these guys are going to be able to do with that kind of stuff. So this is going to be different this week, though. You're going to have, they've got rain right now. They just shut the practice round down. A lot of flurry of activity yesterday, knowing this weather was coming. So probably not a whole lot of practice the rest of the day with a 1/2 to 3/4 inch rain expected. But they've got this new zoysia grass on the fairways. It's supposed to react better than the bent grass to water and drainage and all that kind of stuff. That said, it's going to make it play slower. It's going to play longer. So I don't know that you're going to necessarily see that kind of thing going in. Where Pinehurst, for the U.S. Open in a month, they're looking to get that thing firm and fast balls rolling. And if you drive the ball well, you can move it up there quite a bit and have a shorter shot in. And they're USGA banking on your short game challenge once you get near and around the green. So a little bit of a different look this week, kind of an older Max Homa, just in his interview, called it an old school USGA or U.S. Open setup with a long rough and narrower fairways, and you got to hit driver long and straight kind of thing to score. But then doesn't necessarily test your skills. You can kind of get hot with the putter around here. So it's interesting to hear the different strategies of where the PGA is going and what the USGA going into more of a firm, fast, kind of approach.
Is the rough going to protect the course, or is the winning score going to be double digits under par?
I think they'll get to double digits, but yeah, I mean, they're saying 3 inches right now, and with this rain coming in, they expect it to be 4 inches, by the end of the tournament. So there will be some spots where, the ball will sit down in the rough, and they'll have a trouble. There'll be some areas where guys will have to pitch it back out, but today guys are so strong. The balls don't spin as much. The grooves on the clubs are so good that you'll see guys hitting good shots out of the rough. But I do think you're going to see, I think Tiger won at 18 under in 2000. And I think Rory was, I'm forgetting, but I want to say he was in the 14 under range. So I expect double digits this week on this golf course.
Is this the third or second year that they've been moving up? They moved it up to this time of year, and how has it been received?
Yeah, it's the fourth year actually that they've gone to May, and they, I think most of the players like it. It's a good cadence. I can tell you'd rather be in Louisville in May than in August, right? With the humidity and the heat and that kind of thing. So, the big issue was like last year. They were up in Oak Hill, in the Northeast, and, you could have snow, you can have frost, you can have some cold weather, and it worked out last year. I think, being in Louisville, it's a perfect time of year other than these spring thunderstorms are going to deal with this week. But I think from a golf cadence, it feels better than coming back across the pond and slipping in a WGC and then trying to slam the PGA and then roll right into the FedEx Cup playoffs right as football's kicking off. And again, look, they're not dumb. I mean, in the sports world, golf is a small piece of the pie. And when you start creeping in, everyone jonesing all year for football, and it starts to get, close, and TVs are turning over to practice, and preseason stuff versus watching major championships. So I thought it was a smart move from a scheduling standpoint, put it into May. Now you got Players in March, Masters in April, PGA in May, U.S. Open in June, and the Open Championship in July. Get your playoffs out of the way in August, and then drop a September Ryder Cup or President's Cup in there. To me, it just feels like there's a definition to it and a good cadence for the players.
We're talking PGA Championship with Brian Taylor, Real Golf Radio co-host. Scotty Scheffler was dominating, then he stepped away from the tour, birth of a child. And do you think the focus has slipped? Has he been out there making putts, chipping golf balls, or he's distracted? Can he go out there, wave a magic wand, go 20 under and win this thing? Or should Bob not use the first pick in the draft on him again?
I think Scotty Scheffler is an absolute runaway favorite, even the fact that he's been off for 3 weeks. Although you do have to go back to 2017 at the Open. Jordan Spieth, the last player, 3 weeks off to win a major. Tiger did it a couple of times. I think once he was 8 weeks off going into the 2008 U.S. Open when he had that leg issue and things like that. So it's not unprecedented for a player to go 3 weeks off and win a major. I mean, Scotty's run this year is 2000 Tiger-like to this point in time. I mean, his last 5 starts have been 1, 1, 2, 1, 1. I mean, including a Players and a Masters and an Arnold Palmer. And, the guy is on some kind of heater. He also added a 3rd, 5th, 6th, and 10th in there just for good measure. So I have a hard time, thinking that Scotty isn't the absolute favorite. In his last 7 major starts in the U.S., he has 2 wins, 2 seconds, a 3rd, and a 10th. And then he had a miscut at Southern Hills at the 22 PGA, which was a bit of an anomaly based on how things have been going. So I love Scotty Scheffler again this week. He seems pretty settled. I listened to his interview as he came on the golf course yesterday afternoon, got 9 holes in, and he just said he's actually been able to practice quite a bit. The baby took a little longer to get there. So, he's still a professional. He still has a job to do, and tries to spend as much time with his little guy at home that he can, and with his wife, obviously. But he's ready to go. He understands he has a job to do. He looks at it, and it's interesting. Scotty looks at it as a calling. He said that at the Masters, and he said it again yesterday. That he has a calling to go out here and do what he does. And so he just seems like he has such a peace around it, a humility around what he's doing right now, that it doesn't feel like any of this has really gotten to his head. It's just what he does, and he feels really confident and calm right now. So I think he's definitely the guy to beat this week. I'd pick him.
How's Meredith doing? She all right?
C says she's doing great. So that's all the conversation around that. And by the way, that is very gentlemanly for you to ask. There was a time when your question started with, "Have you seen Amy Mickelson?" So that's very gentlemanly for you to ask there.
Oh, brother.
I'm not wrong, right? DJ, back me up on this one. It was the first question every time I'd get from you. So have you seen Amy?
Well, have you?
No, I haven't seen Phil or Amy for quite some time.
How about Elin?
Here we go.
Sorry,
you know? My fault.
Did I tell you this? That Elin has had multiple kids and in a relationship with a guy who was on the BYU basketball team?
No.
Look it up. It's true. Jordan Cameron? It's Jordan Cameron, right? Not Cameron Jordan. The other guy? Yeah.
I don't know. It's your story.
It's his story. Yeah, he went to BYU. You remember the gal at USC basketball who had the kid with Matt Leinart and then with Blake Griffin?
Okay.
That's his sister. Yeah. And he went to BYU to play basketball, redshirted, so he never got on the floor, and then decided he wanted to go football, went to junior college, then went to USC, played in the NFL for a number of years, particularly with Cleveland. I might have been more, but Cleveland's where he made his mark. But yeah, there's a BYU connection. He's the father of Elan's children, not fathered by Tiger. You might want to search that out, Brian. There's a story there. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So
I guess my interest in Elan's children probably ended with Tiger, I suppose. But good for her. Hope that goes.
How about your interest in Charlie, though? I mean, is there going to be a Woods who sets the major record, but it's going to be Charlie, not Tiger?
I don't know. I think we're getting a little ahead of ourselves there. But
have you seen him?
I've seen him. He's got a heck of a swing. He seems to have that Tiger bravado. You know this, though, right? I mean, it's a lot more difficult to come up and do something that your dad was the best in the world. It really is,
and that's what I was leading to with that question, because most of the time these golfers, high-level golfers, we know them all through the years, their kids are involved in golf. And Jack Nicklaus's kids, right? Johnny Miller's kids. And they have all these advantages with a PGA Touring pro who's really good. And they're really good, but they're not good enough at that level. And to me, it really gives you a level of appreciation just how good these guys actually are.
Well, aren't we looking at the same thing in basketball? I mean, did I not just see that Bronny measured 6'1" when he's been listed as 6'4" throughout his college career, right? And high school and college career.
Yeah, I think they do that bare feet versus with shoes, but shoes shouldn't give you 3 or 4 inches. So I get your point.
He's out there in platforms.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty unrealistic that Bronny's going to, do what LeBron did, right?
Right. So. I mean, that's at the high level, but it does seem like we see a lot more Suns in the NBA make it than we do Suns at the PGA level. It's so dang hard.
That would be an interesting study. I'd have to look at it, yeah.
Well, I mean, I can name Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Jalen Brunson off the top of my head.
All the Barrys?
Yeah.
Rick Barry, they had multiple kids
3,
make
didn't
it. I think it was 3 who made it.
Yeah.
2 at a pretty high level.
Yeah.
None as high level as him, maybe. But,
right.
But nonetheless.
Yeah.
I mean, combined, they must have had 20 years.
Rick
kids.
and Brent
maybe
and
2
John.
of them did, yeah.
Yeah.
So are you saying that genetics translate into basketball or maybe other sports more so than golf?
I just think it's so stinking freaking hard to do what these guys do.
I think, and we can say the hardest thing in sports to do is to hit a baseball, right? Hit a ball that's moving, coming in over 90 miles an hour. Good luck with that, right? A fraction of an inch from a home run to a foul ball. But making a pressure putt from 12 feet, that's an awfully fine line. And you just have to miss a couple of them, and suddenly you're not even on camera. It's like you're not even in the tournament. Hey, what did that guy do?
That's true.
I mean, it is such a fine line.
Or how about John Rahm? And no one's talking about John Rahm. He signs one contract, goes over to live, and no one's talking about him. I mean, he's not that far removed from being the Masters champion a year ago, right? And there's zero talk of John Rahm this week.
Well, how many live guys do you buy? I mean, the whole argument about there isn't the pressure and they aren't tournament ready. I mean, you can't say it can't happen because it has, but given the talent of some of the guys who've gone over there and the age of some of the guys who've gone over there, don't we expect a little better out of them? I think the argument they're not getting tested, it carries some weight. It's not impossible to win from that tour, but it definitely puts them at a disadvantage. I think we have enough of a sample size to say that now.
By the way, I would probably put in my favorites, I've got Scheffler, as I just mentioned, but I got Rory and Brooks. All 3 of those guys are coming off of wins on their respective tours and their last starts and so forth. But Brooks Big Game Brooks might be back. Although I will say last year he shot a final round 75 to finish second at the Masters and then came on to win the PGA and was talking about how upset he was. This year he shot a final round 75 at the Masters, but he was never in contention. So I'm not sure, if there's a direct correlation to that other than he said there's a lot of people that on his team that count on him to do certain things and that he didn't do that at Augusta. And so he was going to remedy that. Well, he did go on to win Live, and now here he is with a chance to kind of redeem himself. And, if he's got that chip, Big Game Brooks tends to come out. So He's won back-to-back PGAs before. Wouldn't put it past him to do it again this week, especially with it being a big golf course. Obviously, Brooks drives the golf ball very well and very long. So I think Brooks and Rory both. I mean, with the rain that's happening, the last time in 2014 it was soaking wet. Rory won. Most of his majors, it's been wet, and when Rory's won. So you got to you got to figure he's kind of licking his chops as well. So those are some of the guys. Because I know you're going to throw out the draft. Who you got tomorrow with Bob? By the way, who you guys going with?
Well, we can't say because then
I'll contemplate it tonight and come up with a winner.
You will designate the winner tonight.
Here's my sleeper for you, Tommy Fleetwood.
Tommy Fleetwood? All right. I mean, he's a name guy, but I guess as far as winning a PGA, I can see where you're going.
Why are you?
He's coming off a T3 at Augusta. He's got a pretty impressive major resume for not having won one of these things.
Sure.
3rd, 10th, and 5th in his last three. And I think PGA and Southern Hills 2 years ago, where he tied for 5th, are kind of similar setups. So I don't know. He's such a good ball striker, and it just feels like he's a guy that, can kind of fly under the radar, but is such a good ball striker. I just think he's going to win one of these at some point in time.
If he does win, he will have the distinction of having the longest hair for a winner.
Maybe. That could be.
Oh, come on. I mean, we're
trying to think back in the 80s and 90s.
Doesn't count.
John Daly had some good flow.
Who had the pony? Someone had a ponytail, didn't they? Didn't someone?
Jimenez?
How long was his hair? It was in the ponytail. I don't know.
Yeah, man bun.
The man bun hid the true length. He didn't have the free flowing locks.
Okay. All right.
By the way, we have two locals. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, to PK's point, that'd still be top 3 from
for sure.
Magnificent.
Tony and whom?
Tony and Zach. Zach Blair also playing this week. His 2nd PGA Championship.
ZB.
Played in 2016 at Baltusrol. He missed the cut, but he's coming off a T4 at Zurich with Patrick Fishburne. Missed the cut last week, his last event 2 weeks ago at Byron Nelson. So Zach and Patrick had a huge opportunity at Zurich. I mean, they were right there. That was pretty heartbreaking. So we'll see what he does this week, but it's cool that he's in the field. And obviously Tony's playing in his 31st major championship, which is pretty remarkable. So 10 top 10s in majors.
What does he need for the W to break through?
Ironically, I think he needs to drive it better this week. At the Masters, he didn't drive it all that particular well. His ball striking was a little off. Wasn't sharp into the greens. His putter wasn't that terrible, to be honest with you. Most of the time, he gets a rap for a bad putter, and I think he's actually been putting better as of late. But the ball striking, the tee to green hasn't been on par with where Tony's been through most of his career. And, a lot of times he's ball striking it to death, getting himself up there, and then, just not able to capitalize with the putter. And it feels like maybe there's been some emphasis on that, and some of the other games slipped a little bit. But, Open Tee has a good week, but he's got the length and he's plenty long for this golf course. If he can drive it well and put himself in position, I think he can make putts on this golf course. So we'll see.
Well, Brian, we will take all of this into consideration. We will do the draft and then we will figure it out. And we'll let you know.
My maybes include a couple of Cams, Davis and Young, just so you know.
Okay, there it is.
Just take a look at those, PK. See what you think. I'm trying to help you out here, buddy. I know you haven't won in a while. So
I haven't won in a while. I had won 2 Masters in a row before I let Bob take Scheffler with the obvious choice. Why didn't he take Tiger back a few years back, too, while he was at it, and claim victory as if it's this astounding accomplishment? Get out of here.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Brian.
See you, boys.
Brian Taylor, Real Golf Radio co-host here on Saturday mornings right here on The Zone with Bob Casper. It is time right now for the Uinta Golf Major Giveaway. Be caller 12 at 801-575-ZONE right now, and you'll be assigned a golfer in the PGA Championship field this week. If your assigned golfer wins, you'll win the same brand of putter that they play, up to a $500 value. It's brought to you by Uinta Golf, simply the best golf stores in Utah since 1971.